My wife died with a stranger holding her hand. That stranger was a nurse named Patricia. She was kind. She had done it before. She knew what to do, how to stand, where to place her palm. I was in Denver, a client dinner. I remember the entree, halibut with some kind of caper sauce I didn't touch after my phone buzzed. I want to be careful here. I'm not telling you this so you'll feel sorry for me. I'm 93 years old. I've had a long time to decide what I deserve, and I think I deserve exactly what I got. I'm telling you because it's true, and because at this age, the only thing I have left that's worth anything is the truth. So, let me try. I grew up in a house in Akron, Ohio, where we did not talk about money except to acknowledge there wasn't enough of it. My father worked at a rubber plant. He came home smelling of it, that chemical sweetness that gets into the fibers of a coat. We had 3 boys in one room. Not miserable, I want to be clear, but narrow. The world felt narrow. I was 18 when I made a private decision, not out loud, not to anyone, just something that settled in me, like a stone going to the bottom of a pond. I decided I would not live like that. I decided that money was not a dirty thing, not a shameful ambition. It was the mechanism by which a person could expand his life, give his children room, give his wife ease. I genuinely believed, that providing was the most serious form of love a man could offer. I think a lot of men of my generation believed this. I'm not sure it's an excuse, but it's the context. I was good at selling. Not in the loud backslapping way people picture. I was quiet. I listened. I understood what people wanted before they said it clearly, and then I helped them see that what I was offering was close enough to that thing. I moved into real estate in my late 20s. Cincinnati, then Columbus, then the whole state, then further. It turns out if you are willing to get on a plane at 5 in the morning and stay in a Holiday Inn and shake hands until your hand is sore, the money does come. It does. By the time I was 34, I had a house that my father could not have imagined. 4 bedrooms, a yard with a real lawn, the kind that needs tending. A car I was slightly embarrassed to drive back to Akron. And I had Margaret, and I had our daughter Claire, who was 6. Here is a memory I return to. Not because it's dramatic, it isn't. That's partly why I return to it. It was a Saturday morning in October night. Claire was 7. I remember the light, that particular fall light that comes through a kitchen window in the morning, pale and sideways. Margaret was at the counter making something, coffee I think, and Claire was at the table with a box of crayons, drawing what she told me was a horse, though it looked more like a dog with ambitions. She kept saying, "Daddy, look. Daddy, look." I was standing in the kitchen doorway with the phone, waiting for a call. A deal in Dayton had stalled, and I was waiting to hear whether it had unstalled. I kept nodding at Claire's horse. I kept saying, very good, sweetheart. That's wonderful." The call came. The deal was back on. I went to my office. We had a spare room I used as an office, and I was in there for 4 hours. When I came out, the crayons were put away. Claire was watching television. The particular light was gone. Nothing happened. No fight, no tears, no confrontation. That's the thing I want you to understand. The damage I did was rarely loud. It was accumulative. It was 10,000 small exits. It was, very good, sweetheart, when I was not looking at the horse at all. Margaret was a patient woman. I don't mean passive. She had opinions, she had heat in her. But she was patient with me, in the way that some people are patient with the weather. She understood that I was a particular kind of system, and she worked around me. She made the life. She made Christmas. She made the birthday parties. She made the friendships with the neighbors that I was always meaning to develop and never did. She kept the whole human texture of our existence together. While I drove to the airport, I told myself she was happy. She had the house, she had comfort, she had security, the thing her own mother had never had. I told myself that when I provided those things, I was speaking in a language she understood, even if it wasn't the language she would have chosen. I'm not sure I ever asked her directly what she would have chosen. We were married 51 years. I want that number to mean something. Maybe it does. But I also know that a long marriage and a full marriage are not identical things. and somewhere around our 35th year, I couldn't tell you exactly when, I became aware of a kind of quiet between us that was different from the comfortable quiet of people who know each other well. It was the quiet of accommodation, of each of us having made our separate peace with what this was. We didn't divorce. We didn't scream. We were by all external measures fine. I think fine is one of the saddest words in the English language. Claire lives in Portland now. She has 2 sons, my grandsons, who call me on my birthday and are polite about it. She and I speak on the phone every few weeks. The conversations are correct. We cover the topics, her work, her boys, my health, the weather, and then we say goodbye, and I sit with the phone in my hand for a moment before I put it down. She flew in when Margaret was in the hospital at the end. The 3 of us were in the room together, which almost never happened anymore, and I noticed that Claire held her mother's hand the whole time, this easy, natural thing, her thumb moving slightly, and I sat in the chair by the window. I did not know how to insert myself into that. I'd been away so long, not physically, you understand, but in the way that matters, that I didn't know where my hands were supposed to go. Margaret died on a Tuesday in November 2009. I was there that day. I held her hand at the end, after Patricia moved aside, and Margaret was not really conscious, and I said some things I'd waited too long to say. I don't know if she heard them. I choose to believe she didn't, because I think it would have made her sad at that point to hear them. What did the money give me? I want to be honest about this too, because I'm not interested in a simple story where money was the villain. It gave me real things. Claire went to a good school. She never worried about whether there would be food. She grew up with options, which is a thing not every child gets. Margaret had a life that was comfortable in its material texture. She traveled, she gardened, she had friends and time and a kitchen she loved. These are not nothing. I don't know how to weigh them against what was absent, and I distrust people who find that calculation easy. But here is what I know. I was most fully alive in a deal, in the movement of a negotiation, in the reading of a room, in the problem of how to get from A to B. That is where I was most present, most concentrated, most, I don't know the right word, most myself, I suppose. And I gave that version of myself almost exclusively to strangers, to clients, to the work. My family got the remainder. The man who came home tired, the man who was already thinking about tomorrow, the man who sat at the dinner table and was there without being there, which is perhaps the loneliest thing a family can experience, the physical presence of someone who has already left. I have a chair by the window in my apartment here. I spend a good portion of each day in it. I'm not being morbid at 93, sitting is an honest occupation. I watch the parking lot, I watch the light change. I think about the morning with the crayons. I think about Margaret's hand and the word fine. I think about Claire's thumb moving, that small, easy gesture I could not manage. People ask me, the younger staff here, the ones who want to be kind, they ask me if I have any regrets. I know what they're hoping for. They're hoping I'll say something useful, something they can take with them. A lesson, a warning. I don't have a warning. I have a life. It went the way it went because of who I was, and what I believed and what I chose. Every day in the small frictionless moments where no one was watching and nothing felt like a choice because it felt like responsibility. I chose money. I want to say that plainly. Not because I was forced to, not because I didn't love them, but because when the moment came, and the moment came every day in 100 small forms, I chose the work. I believed the work was the point of me. I believed that providing was the same as being present. I was wrong. I think I knew I was wrong somewhere around the middle of my life, and I kept going anyway, because stopping would have meant looking at what I'd been doing, and I was not ready to do that. I'm ready now, for whatever that's worth. Claire is coming next month. We'll sit together, probably in this room, and we'll cover the topics. Her boys, my health. I'm going to try. I want to say this carefully, because I'm not sure I know how. I'm going to try to tell her something true. Not a speech, just something true. Something that acknowledges the distance between us without pretending the distance isn't there. I don't know if it will land. I don't know if it will mean anything to her at this point, or if it will just make her sad in a way she has to process alone on the plane home, but I'm going to try. That's all I've got left, really. The trying.